In this video, we're breaking down Will Levis's rookie season. I have rewatched every snap, and I'm going to go through what I think he does well, where he needs to improve, and talk about kind of his long-term outlook. As a rookie, he showed elite arm talent, physical traits, upside, but he wasn't really given the opportunity to play in a real offense, and his play overall, I think, is still too volatile and chaotic. So he's a quarterback that still needs development to reach his final form, but he has all the potential in the world, and I'm personally optimistic about what he can become based on what he showed as a rookie. Looking at his stats, he threw for just over 1,800 yards, 58% completion rate, and he threw 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, but I don't think either of those stats are really indicative of how he played. 8 touchdowns, 4 picks, and basically 8 career starts might tell you that he's kind of a conservative, take the check down, protect the football type of quarterback, but in reality, he was pretty much the polar opposite of that. He had the highest average depth of target in the NFL at 11.1 yards per attempt, and it's the highest ADOT for a single season since Matthew Stafford in 2019. 20.8% of his pass attempts were deep throws, which is the highest in the NFL by about 5%. He had a 5.9% big time throw rate, which ranked 4th in the NFL. Big time throws are basically just passes deep down the field, into tight windows, under pressure, throwing with touch, anything like that. But then he also had the 3rd highest turnover-worthy play rate at 4.5%, so he got some pretty good interception luck as well. So despite the kind of modest box score stats, he was one of the most aggressive and volatile quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, part of that is because he's an aggressive quarterback with a big arm, but a lot of it had to do with the structure and the personnel of the Titans offense. Tennessee didn't really have receivers that could separate in the intermediate game, and they didn't have an offensive line that could hold up long enough in protection to consistently let full field route concepts develop. So a huge part of Tennessee's passing offense ended up just being one-on-one go balls to DeAndre Hopkins down the sideline. You don't have to hold the pocket that long because he's just running in a straight line, and it's actually one of the lower risk throws in the NFL. DeAndre Hopkins ended up leading NFL receivers with the most targets on go routes at 16. The next highest was 10. So jump balls to D-Hop were basically the Titans version of a check down. The problem is that at this point in DeAndre Hopkins' career, he can't really get off of press coverage, and he doesn't have the speed to be that much of a vertical threat, so it's essentially guaranteed to be a contested target. And even for a player like DeAndre Hopkins with good ball skills, a contested target is still not an efficient play. This play against the Dolphins, Xavier Howard doesn't let D-Hop release off the line of scrimmage. Will Levis throws this where he expects DeAndre Hopkins to end up, but it goes right to Howard. Could have been intercepted, but he can't get his feet inbounds. Right here, instead of working this stick route to Josh Wiley that eventually comes open, he throws the jump ball to D-Hop, but Jamel Dean stays over the top, so it's a low percentage jump ball. D-Hop can't come down with it, ends up asking for the pass interference. It felt like this was 10 to 15% of the Titans' passing offense, just prayers to D-Hop down the sideline and then him begging for a DPI after the play. So the reason I'm starting out with that is just to say I don't think Will Levis's extreme statistical profile will continue under Brian Callahan's offense with better receivers and probably better protection. A huge portion of his passing attempts were extremely inefficient throws, and they should just have much better options this year. So the first place you've got to start when you're talking about Will Levis is his arm talent. He has one of the strongest arms in the NFL. He's got a quick release, excellent drive power pushing the ball down the field, and he can make every single throw that you'd ever ask a quarterback to make. This play from week 17 is one of his best throws of the season in my opinion. It's a simple play action shot. You've got a dig with a deep post over the top. Levis pushes this 55 yards in the air, hits Treylon Burks in stride right in his hands, but he can't come down with it. Next play is from his first start against Atlanta. Play action, rolls out to the right. Westbrook's initially stemming his route outside, so they're telling the defense that they're running some sort of flood concept to the sideline, but then he cuts it back inside to the post, perfect ball placement from Levis off his back foot while he's getting hit, hits him in the back of the end zone over Jesse Bates. This play against Miami is one of those jump balls to D-Hop that actually works out. Could be a bit of an OPI here, dragging him down by the arm, but great adjustment by Hopkins to come down with this. Next one, late in the Jags game, they start out in Wildcat, run a jet sweep flea flicker, toss it back to Will Levis. Hopkins separates over Andre Sisco with the double move. Beautiful pass here, again about 50 to 55 yards down the field. This other play from the Falcons game ends up being incomplete. Classic Treylon Burks target, but I thought it was probably his second most impressive throw from that game. It's play action. Again, he's under pressure, throwing off his back foot, but he drops it right over the slot corner underneath the safety. The safety, Richie Grant, makes a good play on this, but you can't really get any more accurate. So that's the starting point with Will Levis. He can access every area of the field. His arm talent gives your offense big play potential as long as you have receivers that can separate vertically, but he's also pretty effective throwing over the middle. I think probably the best play in a Will Levis offense is just going to be play action in breakers. Nice job here on the dig route to Treylon Burks off of play action. Another really nice throw to D-Hop from the same game. Hits him on the backside crosser right in between the quarter safety and the backside hook defender. Hopkins wasn't expecting this throw, but it pins him on the helmet. Pretty standard example here against the Colts from week 13. Just play action bang. The linebacker doesn't get enough depth. In breaking route against outside leverage. Easy pitch and catch. This play against the Dolphins, he's got this backside safety reading the strong side of the formation. He's playing poach technique, looking for an in-breaking route, but everything's breaking to the sideline. So Levis identifies the safety, knows that he's going to have space to hit Chig on the in-breaker, and fits it into a tight window. I really like this throw from the Panthers game. He's got Josh Wiley running a dig route behind this linebacker. The drifting in the pocket is probably unnecessary, but it ensures that he's going to release this at an angle that the linebacker can't undercut the throw. He threw some lasers over the middle of the field against Pittsburgh. This one, they are backed up in their own end zone. Hopkins is running kind of a seam over against Cole Holcomb, who's a linebacker, and Levis identifies a linebacker with his back turned. Perfect ball placement right over his head into D-Hop's hands. And then the other thing to mention, which really shows up in most of these clips, but it's the velocity to get the ball from point A to point B before a window closes. Perfect example here against the Bucks. Chig is running a sit route in between these two zone coverage defenders, pins it right on him. The ball is only in the air for a few frames really, but Chig drops it and then it's almost intercepted by Jamel Dean. Will Levis had the highest drop rate of any quarterback in the NFL last year at 8.6%. Part of that's because his receivers were bad, but the fact that he put so much heat on every throw I think also played a factor. So he can throw deep, he can throw over the middle. I think the other area that Will Levis really excelled as a rookie was touch throws and layering passes above underneath defenders. This is kind of an insane throw against Miami to Tyjae Spears. He separates on this stop seam route. Levis gets it over the slot defender, inside of the outside corner, and underneath the deep safety. Spears ends up fumbling this on the second hit, but it rolls out of bounds and ends up being called a completion. Another nice touch pass here from the same game, over the flat defender, underneath the safety. This was an area that some people said he really struggled with coming out of college. I never saw that as an issue, but I think in the NFL it was one of his best throws. You see on this whole shot against the Colts in week 13, the rare combination of a quick release, proper touch on the throw, but also enough velocity to get it there quickly. But the crazy thing about Will Levis is that he's able to make all of these throws while he's being hit off his back foot when he doesn't even have time or space to step into it. This play against the Dolphins, again, incredible touch throw to DeAndre Hopkins, but he's making it as he's being eliminated by Bradley Chubb. He really just has to put his arm into it, and he's got full control of the placement and elevation. Another one of his best throws from the season here against Pittsburgh. It's 3rd and 13. Peter Skoronski loses quickly to Keanu Benton, so he sidesteps that pressure into pressure from the 3 technique. He's got somebody diving at his feet and a defensive tackle right in his face, but he's still able to loft up this whole shot to NWI and move the chains. Another one here to Chig Okonkwo, just unacceptable left tackle play from Jalen Duncan. He gets hit pretty much immediately off of the play fake, but just a flick of the wrist drops it in the bucket. You also see this release flexibility with some of the underneath stuff. Right here, they're doing a play action slip screen to Derrick Henry. Alex Highsmith beats Andre Dillard around the corner, but again, flick of the wrist, gets rid of the ball. Really nice catch by Derrick Henry, and he gets downfield. So I said a lot of similar things about CJ Stroud in the video that I just recorded before this, but it's not just the arm strength with Will Levis. It's the fact that he can use the majority of that arm strength without needing a clean throwing platform to step into. I think play extension is one of the biggest areas of growth potential for Will Levis heading into year 2. After his second to last year at Kentucky, there were a lot of Josh Allen comps for Will Levis, and even if you think that's a stretch based on the quality of player or quality of prospect, it actually made sense from a stylistic standpoint after that second to last year. He was able to sense pressure, break the pocket, make plays out of structure with his arm or his legs, but then his final year at Kentucky, he had turf toe and he pretty much became a statue in the pocket. He was just going to hang in the tackle box for as long as possible and keep his eyes downfield, and if nothing came open, he was taking the sack. As a rookie, we started to see some of that play extension ability come back, especially as a scrambler. He didn't show it as much throwing on the move, but he still wasn't fully healthy last year, and he's mentioned in a couple interviews how he's excited to get back to that aspect of his game now that he is healthy. We still got to wait and see it show up consistently on tape, but if he can reestablish that playmaking element of his game, I think it raises his ceiling even higher. And this is a point that everybody's made. I'm sure he's being coached really hard on this, but he's got to stop being so irresponsible taking these hits. It's great that he proved his mentality to his teammates, and if it's 4th and goal elimination game, sure, he can lay out and try to make a play, but he should probably avoid doing stuff like leading with his throwing arm into a Jalen Ramsey hit. But the biggest thing that Will Levis has to improve on is decision making and protecting the football. He only threw 4 interceptions, but he had 14 turnover-worthy plays on 9.5 starts, and he also had 15 dropped interceptions. Now, a few of those weren't actually turnover-worthy plays, like that one against the Bucks that Chig originally dropped. That's not really on Will Levis, but still, he had some of the best interception luck of any quarterback in the NFL last year, and turnovers are a bigger concern for me than the stats would indicate. So first one, it's play action, flood to the left side of the field. You've got a flat route, an intermediate out route, and then a go from Treylon Burks. Nobody covers Burks down the sideline. You can even see DeAndre Hopkins out of his break pointing to Treylon Burks, telling Will Levis where to go with the football, but Levis has it predetermined that he's going to D-hop and throws it right to the corner for an interception. This play, the Bucks are sending a blitz. He doesn't identify Levante David dropping back in zone coverage. He wants to hit Chris Moore on this dig route, but David's connected to it, falls right through his hands. This throw against the Panthers should have been intercepted. It's quick game, doesn't see the linebacker breaking on this sit route to D-hop. You just got to get better at zone coverage identification and understanding where it's safe to go with the football. Next play against the Jags, good job escaping from the pressure here, rolls out to the left. He thinks he's got Josh Wiley coming open, extending his route, but the corner slides into the passing lane and again drops the interception. This one is slightly less egregious because it is on a game-winning drive attempt where you have to be more aggressive. He tries to hit this hole shot to D-hop. The Steelers are in cover 2, but if there's nothing in the flat to hold the outside corner, he's just going to sink with a vertical route from the number 1. Good job by Hopkins to break up the pass, but this is one that should have been intercepted. Really just no excuse for this throw from the far hash across his body. Again, Hopkins makes a great effort to get back into the play, but a terrible decision here. Another dropped interception here against Houston, throwing to the flat. His arm and shoulder get hit as he's throwing, so I'll give him some leeway here, but still needs to get rid of the ball more quickly. And then this play, he's expecting Hopkins to separate. Patrick Peterson is right on his hip, and he's able to undercut the throw. There was also some poor ball security on screens, obviously threw the pick 6 to Zach Sealer, and then another just irresponsible hit. And then this one against the Panthers, throws it right to Brian Burns on the slip screen, but he drops the interception. He also just needs to get more consistent with his reads. This first play against the Colts is one of the few examples where he was actually indecisive, targeting a window over the middle. He's got D-hop open on this sit route. For whatever reason, he doesn't pull the trigger and ends up stepping up into pressure and taking a sack. I'm sure everybody remembers this play from the Steelers game, 4th and 5. Kyle Phillips is coming open on this slant as the number 1 receiver on the right side of the field, but he sees the backside safety dropping, and even though it's 4th and 5, he decides to take a deep shot down the sideline, Treylon Burks ends up getting injured on this play. This is actually an incredible throw to Chris Moore that ends up going incomplete, but he had an easy completion to Treylon Burks underneath. Love the ball placement here, but when he sees both of these defenders dropping, he needs to hit Burks on the deep over. I didn't think accuracy was a major issue for Will Levis, but he definitely had some misses. This play should have been a touchdown, but he underthrows it. DeAndre Hopkins has to work back to the football, ends up not making the catch. There were a few speed outs that he put too far inside, easy way to get a pick six. This play from the Panthers game, it looks like he's trying to do a no-look pass. You can see his eyes are a little bit to the left, trying to hold this hook defender, but he ends up misfiring. Still a catchable pass in my opinion. And then really the one consistent ball placement issue is there were a handful of throws that were low and uncatchable. He had this one to Chig against the Dolphins, another one from the Colts game where he breaks out to the right, tries to hit Josh Wiley near the pylon, but he skips it, and then he misses this one to D-Hop here under pressure. So pretty much every rookie quarterback needs to improve their accuracy. Will Levis is no different, but at this point, I don't see it as something that's going to hold him back significantly. And then the final thing I've got to discuss is sack avoidance. I mentioned it some talking about his play extension ability. If he can get some of his athleticism and mobility back, I think that would play a huge role in him being able to avoid sacks. But I also want him to be more efficient, getting through his progressions, recognizing when a play is cooked and he just needs to hit his check down or throw it away. Obviously, he's going to take fewer sacks the better Tennessee's offensive line gets, and it should be improved this year. But you've still got a rookie left tackle, complete unknown on the right side. You add on one or two injuries, it's not hard to imagine Tennessee having questionable pass protection. So after decision making, I would say pocket presence is the biggest area that we need to see some development. But overall, I think his rookie season was extremely promising. When the Titans started making all of these moves, adding Calvin Ridley, Lloyd Cushenberry, Tyler Boyd, a lot of people were surprised that Tennessee was planning on committing to building around Will Levis. I think what he showed as a rookie justifies building around him, but even if he was bad, like where else are you going to spend that money? That never really made sense to me. I think his low end on the range of outcomes is probably Sam Howell, and for more high end outcomes, I could see like Jay Cutler at his best. If he does become more of a play extension quarterback, I could see anywhere on the Carson Wentz spectrum, which sounds like a knock, but I mean, he was going to win MVP at one point. So a lot of exciting upside and definitely a player that's worth building around to see what you've got.